Hello again off the top. The filter forefront, our top four of the day, including is $6 million worth more than $99 million. But we'll begin with this. By now, everybody's heard about the high salaries in the city of Bell. Problem was, residents didn't know what was going on in their own backyard, but they will now. The state controller's office announced today they plan to require the salaries of elected officials to be posted online for their constituents to see. The idea is complete transparency will keep officials honest and accountable. At the county level, Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky is proposing the same. And LA City Controller Wendy Gruhl said, we're doing it. It's the people's right to know how their tax dollars are being spent. That's all well and good, but in most cases, names will not accompany the salary, just a generic job title. And if we post official salaries for the public to see, will the public start calling for pay decreases? Our contributors tonight, Megan Barth and Charlotte Laws. Our pictures are furnished by Skype. Charlotte, let's start with you. How much authority should the public have when it comes to their official salaries?
Well, they have their freedom of speech rights, and I think that they should be able to voice their concerns when they think a public person is not doing their job or a bureaucrat's not doing their job. But I don't think they should be able to dictate the salaries. But I do think Wendy Gruhl is actually making the right decision about not putting the names with the salaries, because actually this came up in Oakland about 6 years ago, and the city council there decided not to disclose the names, and this whole case went to court, and the a state appellate court ruled that privacy was more important than the Public Records Act, and therefore the names could not be listed. So
well, if privacy, Charlotte, if privacy is important, then why are we posting the salaries with no names? If privacy is important, why do we need to know what anybody makes?
Well, it is important to know these are elected people, and I think when you go into public office, you have to expect that this information is going to be there. You know, you have sunshine laws. You want the public to have as much information and everything to be transparent. Already people don't trust public officials. So that is very important. I think it's important to put the title and the salary or a range of salary for that particular position.
All right, Megan, what do you think?
Well, I think we've all forgotten this is about transparency as well as accountability. And what's really important here is for us to remember is it is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I don't think the voters or the taxpayers are going to have a say in how much someone will make. But the voters are going to have a say when it comes to the ballot box, and that's when the voter or taxpayer's power is expressed, is in the ballot box. At that time, the voter then can decide whether or not that elected official is giving them the return on their investment. All of these elected officials or appointed officials are working off the taxpayer dollar. All taxpayers are voters. So again, the elected official is either going to hold on to their seat and hold on to their taxpayer-funded salary through the ballot box, or they're not.
But what if in the city of Los Angeles, for example, you saw how much the city council people made, and that's public record anyway. Somebody goes, you know what? Too much. Well, why don't we start an initiative here to cut their salaries? You see what I'm saying? I think if the people know how much everybody makes, and it's their business, by the way, why wouldn't they say, you know what? The mayor makes too much, and we're in charge here. We're going to bring this to a vote. We're going to challenge this. We're going to do whatever we have to do. Let's cut his salary. Why wouldn't that happen?
Well, there is public pressure, and we've had this recession, and the city council and the mayor voluntarily cut their salaries. I actually will make a very controversial statement. I personally do not believe the city council is overpaid, because they work like 16 hours a day. They're working nights. They're working weekends. It's a lot of pressure. I may not think they're always making good decisions, but they put their time in, and I personally think they deserve those salaries. Believe it or not.
To get an initiative on a ballot is an extremely arduous, expensive process to go through. So that's not likely unless there's something so egregious like Bell. You aren't really going to see a ballot initiative go onto a ballot.
Okay, speaking of expenses here, can the governor's office be bought in California? Meg Whitman thinks so. She spent $99 million on her campaign. But will that be enough? Whitman's now spending more per day than Jerry Brown has spent on his entire campaign. But whose money is more powerful? Jerry Brown got a big boost this week from organized labor. The unions have raised more than $6 million for the former governor, and they're launching $2 million worth of TV ads this week for Brown. For better or worse, we know how much power the unions have in politics, so here's your question. Is Jerry Brown's $6 million in union money worth more than Meg Whitman's $99 million in spending, Megan?
Well, it's worth more to the unions. Governor Brown back in 1978, Moonbeam Brown, signed a bill called the Dill Act. Anyone can look it up. You can Google the Dill Act. What that allowed was for government employees collective bargaining. And that is what's really given us the $500 billion pension debt that this state is looking at right now. So Meg might need to spend $99 million to actually get some rein around these outrageous pensions that we have going on.
But here's the issue, Megan, and Charlotte, I'll let you jump in here in a second. Here's the problem. If every union member in this state, and we know how strong the unions are, vote for Jerry Brown, does it really matter how much money Meg Whitman spends? Can she win? Go ahead, Charlotte.
Well, I think she can. I'd like to see Jerry Brown win, but I think that, television is the most powerful medium for political advertising. And studies show that people pay attention to that more than they do news with regards to politics or debates. So she can actually have quite a bit of power with that. And she could very, very much overtake him. And it depends on whether the unions can get their people out. I think that's the main thing with the unions. But Jerry has been very smart because he's tight-fisted with his money. He knows that if he spends his money too early, that's a problem.
Well,
and despite the fact that
his money is taxpayer money. He has never sat outside of an elected office since he has been in this state. His money is taxpayer money. That's a ridiculous statement. The voters are aware and awake of what's going on in the state right now. And what is going on in the state is that there are unsustainable pensions that we cannot longer afford to pay as taxpayers. Why? Because we are the highest taxed state in the union, basically, and people are fleeing in droves. Corporations are taking their headquarters elsewhere. They are leaving the state. Taxpayer dollars are becoming less and less.
I agree with you on pensions. I totally agree with you. But he is very tight-fisted with public money, and that's why he didn't spend money on public projects.
That's why he relies on the union money.
And with his campaign, he's very smart because he's waiting to spend his money after Labor Day, despite the fact that advisors and Democrats have been on his case about that, saying you need to spend some of your money, and he's held back, and he's been very savvy about that. But what we really need is clean money. We need to get the money completely out of politics, and I'm very disheartened that Prop 15 did not pass, which would have had a pilot program for the Secretary of State office.
Right.
And that's what voters need to understand. We got to get the money out of politics.
All right, Charlotte, but if we took the money out of politics, then nobody would run and nobody would get elected. So that's the end of that.
No one would watch, I don't agree. Watch it on TV.
All right.
If you're so smart, prove it. Contact NBC Filter on Twitter or Facebook, or send an email to thefilter@nbcuni.com. We care what you think, but if we don't like it, we'll filter you.
I was born in the Philippines, but